Okay, so here on this job, I'm going to be putting down some underlayment, and I just wanted to show the preparation that you need to do to your wood subfloor. As you can see, we got a wood subfloor here, and how to get it ready to install a 1/4 inch plywood, which is a smooth surface for all vinyls and LVPs, any kind of vinyl glue down product. You need to put down what I call an underlayment. It's actually a 1/4 inch plywood. So I just want to show how we do that. As you can see, the general contractor did an excellent job on keeping the floor clean. He covered it up so there's not a lot of sheetrock mud all over. But I am going to take my razor scraper, and I'm going to go over every square inch of the floor. Not so much for sheetrock mud, because he did an excellent job on that, but what little bit there is, I am going to knock that up. And while I'm going over the floor, if I hit a nail, I want to take my pencil I got right here, and I'm going to circle that nail head. That way I can come back and beat it down. Don't want anything sticking up out of the floor. If it's a little sunk in, that's okay. We don't want anything protruding up. So I'm going to go over the entire floor with my scraper. And in order to keep track of where I've been and where I haven't been with my scraper, I like to do a board at a time. You can see the lines where the boards meet. I'll use that as a reference guide on while I'm scraping. That way I don't get confused and miss a spot. If I just try to look for nail heads, you're going to miss them. So always want to go over this with the scraper before you install underlayment. Underlayment is not a fix-all, okay? It's going to only be as good as your subfloor is, so you actually have to prep your subfloor out before you can get your underlayment down there. If you have a hump in your floor, you're going to have a hump in the underlayment. If you have a nail head sticking up, that's going to crack and pop whenever you walk on it. So your floor's got to be completely smooth. Well, not necessarily smooth, but at least flat with nothing protruding up, and all of your joints even before you put down the underlayment. So that's what we're going to show, is how to get this floor ready for the underlayment. Right there already, I hit a nail, so I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to circle that, and I will come back. If you see I got that circled right there, I will come back and get that after a while, after I get everything scraped. I got this whole house to do, so after I get everything scraped, I'll go around all my pencil marks and beat them down with the hammer. So you can just see a little bit of sheetrock mud coming up, and that's it. Everything else is good. And if I hit a nail on the seams in the plywood, I'm not going to worry about that, because I will be sanding over them. So those are not necessarily have to be circled. As you can see, this is a chipboard, so I am using my razor scraper, but I have a dull blade in here. If you try to use a brand new razor blade on this chipboard, it's just going to snag up and dig in and tear the floor up. It's virtually going to be impossible to scrape this with a brand new blade. So if you do have a new blade and you don't have any old ones, flip it around and put the back side out to scrape with, and put the razor of it inside your scraper. That way you have something dull that's not going to dig in. You just want to be able to scrape the sheetrock mud up and hit the nail heads. Okay, I'm going to carry on and do this, and then when we get to the next step of that, we'll come back and get more into it, okay? So now that we got everything scraped over and everything is circled that's sticking up, I'll take my hammer and beat everything down that I circled, and all of these seams that's in the subfloor here, I'm going to take this is called an edger, I'm going to take it over all the seams and make sure they're nice and smooth. If you don't have one of these, you can rent one at Home Depot. I think they're like $50 a day. If you don't want to do that, and you have a belt sander, You can use a belt sander, it'll just be a little bit more time consuming. On the bottom here I got a 50 grit sanding disc, so it's going to eat it down pretty good. And it's dust collection here, so it don't dust out too much. But these things they're really fast and efficient, so the thing is just keep it moving so you don't dig a hole in the floor if you sit in one spot too long, okay? The main thing, again, that we want to do is just make sure the seams are all level. So I'm going to hit every seam in the entire house that's getting LVP and underlayment. Okay, so if you'll zoom in right here, if you'll see that on each side of the seam has got sanded, that lets me know that it is flat. If there was a spot on one side that didn't get sanded, that would mean that the other side is higher and I need to keep sanding. So as long as both sides of your plywood is getting sanded, you're going to be all good. So that's how you can tell if you got it good or not. Like I said, you can see right here there's a little bit that the sander didn't get. I need to go over that just a little bit more, okay? So as long as it looks like this, where both sides are sanded right at the joint, you're going to be all good, okay? All right, I'm going to continue. Are you good there? I'm going to continue doing this, and then we'll touch back in later when we get to the next step. So this is the last process to the floor prepping for underlayment, and I just want to show you. And what it is cutting door jambs. The contractor is excellent and he knows exactly what's going on. So a lot of people will already have the outside door casings on. Well, he left them off to make it easier on the flooring and the baseboards and stuff like that. So the only part that we have to cut is this center piece, the actual door casing itself, instead of just the jambs. So that makes it a lot easier. And what I do, I got a piece of my underlayment that we're going to use, and a piece of the flooring, and I'm just going to make sure there's no debris or anything under it that would cause it to be raised up. And I'm just going to set it right there, right against it, and take my pencil and put a mark right there at that. It's going to cause it to be just a little bit higher than my actual thickness here, but that's perfect. That's exactly what I want, because I don't want it perfectly flush, because then I'm going to be struggling with trying to get my stuff underneath there. So a lot of people will actually set their product down here and just run their little saw right along the bottom of that. I don't like to do that myself. If you're okay with it, that's all good, but myself, I like to move it out of the way and just follow my line. That way, if I need to do this, lean my saw up or down or whatever, sometimes what will happen if you just go along the bottom of your product like so, your saw will actually be angled up, which will cause the back side of this casing to be lower than the front side. So it might go under the front good, but underneath the back it'll be tight. I want to be able to actually, whenever I put it in there, have my saw at just a little bit of an angle up. That way the back is actually higher than the front. But this is all you'll see, so this will be good. And that way I'm not struggling trying to get my products underneath of the door casing after I put it up there. So I'll let you see me cut it real quick, and we'll just follow that line right on around. And again, I will have my saw not flat or not angled this way, but actually angled up just a little bit so that the back is cut higher, the inside of it. Okay, so what I did right there, I got me a little score mark is pretty much what that is. I didn't cut all the way through it once. I just got me kind of a score mark. Now that I got my line cut nicely, now I will sink my blade all the way in and finish my cut all the way through the door casing there. Oh, well, look at there. I actually did anyway, so didn't feel like I went that deep, but anyway. Now if you'll see there, I got just a tiny gap. I'm going to mash down. See, there's a tiny gap there between the floor and the door jamb, and that's exactly what we want. If it was like super flush by the time I get my glue and stuff like that in there, I don't want to be struggling trying to get that in there. So I would rather have that little gap than have it super tight and me fighting trying to get my product underneath of there. So I just wanted to show that, and that is the last process to putting down underlayment, to prepping the floor and stuff out for underlayment. So now we're completely ready to put down some underlayment, and we're good to go. Actually, what we're going to do is we'll sweep this out naturally and vacuum around all the walls, get all the debris sucked out from underneath the sheetrock and all that stuff that way, because whenever you're running your air gun, naturally it puts off pressure, air pressure like that, and it blows anything that's under the sheetrock is going to get blowed out. So we don't want to have to repeatedly keep sweeping every time we put down a single piece. So we do want to suck everything out from underneath the sheetrock, and we'll be good to go. So anyway, that's it. We are ready for underlayment. So I'm going to continue cutting the rest of these door jambs throughout the house, and we're going to be good to go. Thank you again for watching.